Hey, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us on Friday with Fran with a delayed start. I had a meeting that I knew was going to take me past 1 o'clock, and it's a once a year meeting, always happens in January, and I didn't want to risk coming on late, and turned out the meeting ended before 1 o'clock today, and we could have gone on normal time, but I thank you because we had that delayed start. So I thank you, those of you who are with us today. So Fran and she watched she was able to watch live my hashtag No Limits on Tuesday, and I was talking to a behavioral specialist, and we talked about behaviors, and we were talking, of course, about individualizing. And Fran made the comment that she preferred bean bags over boxes. And so that's where the idea for today came from. And I have an idea of what that means, but Fran and I haven't shared our ideas with each other. So we're going to find out if we were on the same page, similar pages, or completely different pages altogether. So, hi, Fran. Hi, Cooper.
Hi.
How are you guys?
Let me, there.
There he is.
Yeah, I'm going to say hi.
Yeah. He's not, oh, there he goes. Okay. I'll say he didn't have his head on.
Yes, hello.
What are you talking about, Greg? What are we whatting about? What the difference between bean bags and boxes is?
Don't you want to know what they are? I'm interested.
I'm curious. Yeah, I want to see if Fran and I were thinking along the same page, along the same lines. I mean, because I really enjoyed my talk on Tuesday with Shri. If you didn't have a chance to watch that, she has a very interesting story. And yeah, she is now, hi, Mom. Hi, Greg. She is now working as a master IEP coach like myself, and she is also an ABA therapist. And so she specializes in behavior, which is the part of my job that I think I loved almost as much as I loved my kids, my students. Okay. So sorry, I just got something in my throat. So Fran, what did you mean when you said you prefer bean bags to boxes?
Why does society put us in a box? Why are we required to fit in this box?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
It's
and when you say we, who do you mean?
School systems, jobs, friends, family, community.
So, hi, Alex. That's the society that is putting you in the box. But when you say putting us in a box, who's us?
Anyone.
Oh, okay.
But definitely people who have different needs.
Okay.
We spend so much time in life teaching them how to behave and what is socially acceptable and what is expected, rather than educating those around them that this may occur here.
Right.
And it may be different than the box which you are used to or desire, but it's still okay because it's not a hindrance. And it's how this person is. Are we on the same page on boxes and bean bags?
No.
No. Okay.
No, we're not.
Well, okay. So do you want me to reference why I said what I said when I said it?
So Greg says, oh, so we're subject to being the bean bags in the box?
No, I jumped out of the box onto the bean bag. It's much more comfy on the bean bag.
Okay, yeah. So reference, I don't remember the exact part that Shri and I were talking about when you made that comment. So if you do, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I do actually. Okay. Because it was very ding, ding, ding moment. It was checking off the boxes on the IEP.
Oh, okay.
You have to check them off. They got to make sure they're doing this and doing that, and you got to check off the boxes and make sure we're meeting all of these needs and meeting this and meeting that, and make sure and we're just checking boxes rather than seeing if it actually meets the needs of the child.
Got it.
You remember that comment now?
Not really.
I should have brought up that interview so I could have played that part.
Oh, that's okay. See, that would have required forethought for both of us. And I don't think either of us really have that when we get ready for Friday with Fran a lot of times.
No, okay, so help me. Tell me where you were, because I really feel like we're out. I don't know where you are then.
So what I thought about and I've been thinking about it since you made that comment, is that the beanbag it comforts you. It wraps and engulfs you. And so it forms to you. So we're probably on similar pages, just not exactly. Whereas a box, you got to squish in, and you know, even if you don't fit in that box, you're expected to squash down and squish in there and get all of you in that box. And you are expected to conform to the box, whereas the beanbag conforms to you. And so a lot of what you said, you know, regarding the fact that we spend hours on social skill development with our students who learn differently, to teach them how to behave in certain settings.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't spend that same amount of time, or even a small amount of time, teaching typical people how to interact with someone who learns differently. So maybe we are on the same page and we're just saying it differently.
Right. I think we are very close.
Yeah.
And what comes immediately to mind as you were saying that, spending so long teaching, I think of my son, who was in an early intervention from the day pretty much he came home from the NICU,
right,
till he aged out into the main education. And we, even in the very beginning, were teaching him please and thank you. Mm-hmm. Like those, he could not communicate in any form or fashion, but we were hand over handing please and thank you with him in sign language as part of his therapy. And I'm thinking, would we do that with a typically developing baby? Probably not. We would just mimic their sounds and laugh, but everything had to become educational with him from the get-go.
Yeah. And I most definitely see that. And I think that comes from, we have an assumption that they're already going to be behind. And so or that it's going to take longer for a concept to stick. And so, yeah, I think you're right. We probably do.
Right, Greg, ma'am, and sir.
Yeah. Yeah. I think we do teach more than just play with kids in the beginning, when we notice that there is a difference in the way that they are developing. And Greg will attest, I think, that my students, it was always important for me that my students learned respect, and that they did use please and thank you, and that certain behaviors were not acceptable at all. And being disrespectful was the biggest one, whether it was disrespecting themselves, other students, the adults in the building. I have not found a student that I worked with the hundreds of students that I've worked with over the years, that didn't understand respect and didn't understand there are certain things that you say. Now, did they always acknowledge that perfectly? And did they always use it when they needed to use it without reminders? No. Mm-hmm. But my students knew you don't disrespect. And I'm finding that it's a lot more difficult for me with virtual learning now, and trying to kind of find that fine balance of darn it, she got the word in there before I did.
Throw it up there.
But that balance between, the parents are there and letting the parents parent, but letting me teach. And part of my teaching has always been not just academics. It's been behavior. It's been social emotional, and trying to figure out, like, when do I step in and when do I let the parents keep control, because they've had control from the beginning. So that's been tougher for me. So for that reason, I definitely prefer the in-person teaching. But even when I tutor, in-person tutoring, I'm at these people's homes. So it's kind of the same thing. If they're in the same room with me, figuring that line of that balance of what's respectful, what's not respectful. It's a partnership between all. The key is reminder. Man, Greg, you are on it today. And yeah, you're right. All of those things.
And Alex said so. What did she say?
And Alex's balance of teaching and fun. That is so true.
Yeah.
And that truly is with everyone, with every child. And my poor child, being the child of a teacher, I mean, a lot of her stuff she was being taught, and you can teach through fun, most definitely. But yeah, mom was always kind of watching out for, oh, did she pick that skill up? Did she pick that up? Did she get this? How can we incorporate this? So yeah, she's complained a few times about growing up the child of a teacher, but I'm sure pretty much all kids who have parents as teachers complain somewhat.
Yes. All of our family trips when we were in Europe, we would come back with a classroom set of rocks because my mom was an earth science teacher.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So when we went to Sweden, Denmark, and Norway, the van was very, very full of different types of rocks. I can tell you the type of rocks the mountains are made out of in Switzerland, because that's what we discussed. So yeah. So we need to fit in the box sometimes, Alex says, but live on a beanbag. I like that. And Greg says, I pushed him when needed, even when I didn't want to hear it. It's a team effort. So yeah, Greg, you were so awesome. You always received my suggestions well. And you were very much part of the team, and that's really what helped. So getting back to the box and the bean bags, what do you suggest we do, or what do you have any specific examples that we can talk about? Well, okay, I'm thinking we're on the letter B, box and bean bags and balance, because that's what immediately came. There has to be a balance. Yeah. But it's finding that balance, and it is ever changing. It's not going to be the same all the time. And so often so even within an IEP, we make modifications, accommodations, I can go on and on. But do we reassess? Do we go back and check out? Are those accommodations actually hitting the mark, or are we? And so often, I know as a parent, I knew it was a lot of work to get everyone together. I knew to get everyone together to reconvene a meeting. I knew it was a lot of work to change an IEP, and so I didn't want to cause a problem. I like that, Greg, a lot. Yeah. Beanbags are definitely much softer than boxes. Boxes have edges and they're sharp a lot of times. Yeah. Unless they're I'm thinking boxes that are, out of that flimsy cardboard, they might not be quite as bad, but the shipping boxes, those can be pretty, I got an Amazon package the other day. Yeah, it was a pretty solid box.
Yeah.
But so, that balance. So in the beginning, I was more concerned about the teachers because I came from that background, having my mom as an educator and growing up around other educators. I knew what they went through. So I was trying to respect their time. And so at the cost of my children. And then I realized, oh, my children, I need to advocate for them as well. So there was that balance of, so I had to assess, and we even talked about this way back in the beginning when the school year started. I was on the other extreme with my daughter, and I had to take a step back and reevaluate and breathe. Another B word, breathe.
Another B word. Yep.
Breathe. And it turned out, oh, okay, well, give it some time, and it kind of worked, but then we did have to reconvene and meet and reassess. So I think that's the key for me with the IEPs or within the education system is checks and balances and checking to make sure that the boxes that are checked we're not squeezing them into that box, yet at the same point we're not just hanging out on a beanbag out in the corner with no concerns in the world. There is that, well, is the beanbag going to help this person in life?
Right.
If they want to sit on the beanbag rather than be in the box, and if the beanbag is still going to support them and help them to reach their fullest potential, then let them be on the beanbag. But if that beanbag is way off the mark and the box is better, then let's figure out how to make the beanbag and the box come closer together.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
Because
that about what we were speaking, or
I think that's excellent, because as we grow, as our children grow, the beanbag needs to look different because our children look different. And the box looks different. The box hopefully changes as well. And the forming around and giving that support, that to me, you get support with a box, but it's more rigid support, like we talked about. This is the line. This is the way you have to do it, and the line doesn't move because this is where it is. Where you can have a line in a beanbag, but it's a little more flexible. It's a little wigglier. So I don't know if that's really a line or not, but yeah. Technically.
Have you seen those beanbag chairs?
Yes.
They are a little more rigid. They have a shape. However, I think Greg might be able to land on them.
Yeah.
A little more easily. They would not hurt him.
And I want to say, before we get farther and I forget about it, if you are part of a current IEP, because, the people that I know are watching who have commented are out of having a current IEP. Well, I guess your daughter still has one, but you're pretty familiar with all of this. But I do want to mention that the law states that at least once a year, the IEP should be reviewed. However, that does not mean that it is only once a year. It is possible, and if it's necessary for you to do so, to call a meeting. Maybe you don't have to call a meeting of the whole IEP team. Maybe you just talk to the teacher back and forth. Maybe you, the teacher, and maybe the special ed director or a psychologist, if they're available to you. And then you make an amendment to the IEP if necessary, if something really does need to change. But you are absolutely right, Fran. The IEP, the accommodations and modifications, absolutely 100% need to be evaluated regularly. And that is something that I think I did get lazy with. I will be honest. because there were certain accommodations that worked for just about everybody. So I would almost always put that into an IEP without really having data to show if that was really going to work for that individual student. I just generally went, oh, okay, everybody pretty much got preferential seating, extra time, and tests, in a different location or read aloud or something along those lines. And usually the team was like, okay, especially a very first IEP when you really don't know what's going to work. But then we would have to go back and say, okay, well, did he really or did she really use extra time, and how much extra time? And so after that initial one, then we had more data and we could check those kinds of things out. But I don't know that I really checked out every single accommodation and modification. But that is something that I do now as a master IEP coach, is to make sure that for the teachers and the families, that we're not asking things for the student that they don't need or that they're not using. Because if it's not helping them access their education, then it's why have it in there? Same thing for goals and objectives. If it isn't helping your child to prepare them for further education, employment, and independent living, and is reasonable and relevant, then it doesn't need to be in there either. You don't have to follow some guideline of, well, you have to have this step before you go to this step, before you go to this step. Sometimes you don't have to work on these 2 steps. You can just skip to step 3. So you're smiling at Greg's comments here.
Yeah. Well,
able to move the boxes and bean bags around. Now I get it, Fran. Okay. And there's flexibility within the system. And no, you did not. You were innovative, but within the standards. Okay.
I have my finger crossed.
Okay, go ahead.
Can I say it before I forget?
Yes, please.
No, we like your chatter, Greg. Keep chattering, please.
Yes,
we like
please.
chatter.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, all we do is talk to each other, which is great, but we like to interact as well. But okay, my daughter's IEP, the one we just had. Well, okay, the annual review IEP. So the end of the other year. Mm-hmm. That one, we specifically wrote in there that we would have a follow-up following the quarter of this school
year.
Time. Yeah. So we wrote it in there to assess, were we on track? Were we hitting? Were we close to the boxes, which we had to check? Because I checked the IEPs. They do not have bean bags on them, Greg. I looked. Nope. They're just a bunch of boxes. Yeah. Lots and lots of boxes.
They don't even have circles. They're all check boxes.
No. And it's all computerized now. So like the X's are in the boxes now.
Right.
I mean, you can't circle a box even. Well, I guess you technically could if you went to some computer program and circled it anyway. But so
well, they're supposed to be, I'm going to stop you there for a second, because the computer software programs are supposed to be able to be individualized. So even though they have drop boxes of, a list of accommodations that, like, again, I said, there are certain ones that are most commonly used. But if you want to clarify, like we talked about extra time, how much extra time? Because extra time to you might mean 20 minutes. Extra time to me might mean a full class period. Extra time to somebody else might mean a full day. So those programs are supposed to be able to add that. And if the computer program itself can't add that, then that needs to be handwritten in there. Because right. Otherwise...
I was going with the literal, though. Like right. The boxes. Yeah. It's just an X.
Yeah. That's not good.
It's not the days where it was handwritten out.
Right.
That's about which I was referring. So I was being silly-ish. But I'm glad you did point that out, though, that you can, because my daughter's way back. Hers, she had extra time for her assignment. Oh, and that's one thing I need to remember is she had extra time, but then it came down to we had to define that extra time. At some point, it was no longer just she needed extra time. We had to go back and say, oh, well, how much extra time was it that she needed?
Yep. Interactive, it doesn't sound like they are, he says. And I'm not sure that I'm following that comment, Greg.
What he does, what's his job? Isn't computer something like that?
Oh no, I hate it when I'm on the spot. Are you an analyst? I'm sorry. I don't remember. You have to tell me because I don't remember. Are you a programmer? Oh, that's what are you a programmer? Is that what you're referring to? Computer science. Okay. Yes, it was computer science.
I remember that all the way back from our discussion.
Good for you. I'm bad with details. Especially when I'm put on the spot. Like Kevin and I, when we were first married, we used to love to play the game Pictionary, but we had to stop because I could not remember what things were called. See, he's a programmer, so I could not remember what things were called a lot of times because of that pressure of you have to do it right now. And he's a fabulous artist, and he would draw the perfect whatever, and my mind would just go blank. So we eventually got to the point where we had to get rid of the game because it was causing too much strife in our marriage.
Oh my. Greg's giving you grace right now.
I know. Thank you, Greg. Greg loves me and I love Greg. He's an awesome guy. And I'm so thankful that he's in my life and that I've been able to walk alongside him in his parenthood journey. And he's been able to walk alongside me in my teaching journey. And together and with some other people, we've raised a really awesome daughter of his. So getting back to the boxes and the bean bags and the balance and the breathing.
Okay, I know it doesn't quite relate. It's a B word, but barcodes.
Okay.
Are you ready for that?
Go ahead.
Barcodes haven't existed forever. Right. But now they're essential in life. They make things easier.
Right.
Okay. So boxes didn't exist, bean bags. But how do we make things work in life? So the reason I'm going with the barcodes is someone had just said, I wouldn't know what to do without barcodes. I worked in retail, so I got that thing.
They wouldn't know what to do without barcodes.
Yeah, well, it was retail. How do you keep track of inventory and things? You just scan the barcode.
Right.
Prior to barcode, you were literally counting and looking and.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Like it was done before we had barcodes. Okay,
but like when you have massive like box stores and things.
Yeah.
So anyway, it was just one of those. How do you keep track of your inventory? But so maybe that's not the greatest example, but that was what came to mind when I'm thinking B words with my alliteration thought process. It's just a little wild ride. My mind's a little fuzzy right now.
That's okay.
I took a nap today. Not a normal thing for me. Just I woke up very startled. I was like, why is it daylight out? What?
Yeah.
Oh, I know what it is.
Slept well last night.
Breathing.
Breathing.
That's another B word. Breathing.
Yep.
It's important to breathe in the midst of it all.
Yes. And like you mentioned earlier.
While you're trying to assess whether it's a box, a beanbag, or both.
Right. Another B word. It can be both. This is true. Trust in a system, not all systems, mind you. Understood. Yeah. So, now my mind is doing it because I didn't sleep well. How do we help people
Cooper's listening.
understand? Hi, Cooper. How do we help people understand navigating through boxes and bean bags, or both?
Apply it to yourself.
Okay, elaborate.
If you wouldn't do it, if you wouldn't expect it of yourself, why are you expecting it of the individual?
It's a good point. And there are a lot of things that we expect of our students that we don't tolerate as adults.
I think, okay, I'm going back, I'm going to parenting at this point. I expect my daughter not to be having a bad time. I expect her to listen and listen right away.
Uh-huh.
Do I listen to what she says to me right away and do it? Do I ever not? Am I always in a good mood and respond appropriately to when she barges in the middle of a Zoom meeting or needing me right then? Or no? So where is the grace? Where is the compassion, the mercy?
Right.
That we have for ourselves that we don't have for our children or students or those who happen to be differently abled.
Right. And I think about, I mean, a lot of this show is you bring the parent perspective and I bring the teacher perspective. So from the teacher perspective, we expect kids to sit, focus, drown out any other distractions so that they can maintain their attention, to learn the way that we're teaching, not necessarily the way that they learn. And then we expect them to get along with everybody that's around them. We expect them to eat a lunch. Maybe that's nothing that they like because, maybe their parents are like, you're doing school lunch. We're not going to do, home lunches. So you eat whatever the school is offering you. And then if the kid is not enjoying what's for lunch and so they don't eat it, or it, could be something that actually made them sick, upset their stomach, and then in the afternoon they're not feeling well. We're like, well, too bad. You just should have eaten more lunch. We would never say that to a coworker. We would never expect every person in a business to get along with every other person in the business. We would not force colleagues to work together collaboratively all the time, or expect them to work in groups if they do better independently. How often are we moving in our day from, our chair, how tapping our foot, tapping a pencil, just moving our body, whatever. Like I said, having to, oftentimes, we make kids in schools line up alphabetically. And I don't necessarily have a problem with that, except maybe you really have a problem with whoever is right before you or right behind you in the alphabet in line. But you're still expected to behave, and by behave, I mean you're still expected to stand there, not talk to them, not touch them, not be aggravated by their presence. Again, we don't do that in adulthood. So I understand, that's a way to teach the alphabet. I totally get that. It's
that
not
why you do it?
Huh?
Is that why you do it, to teach the alphabet?
No, it's an easy way also for teachers to check that everybody is there in line. Like oftentimes it's alphabetical when you're going to lunch, because the person checking you in that you've had your lunch, their list is alphabetical, so it helps it go a little bit faster. But, sometimes it's a way to, okay, you're going to be line leader today, but then tomorrow, the next, like if you're a one, an A, and then, then tomorrow B is going to be line leader. So it's a way to take out the arguing of who gets to be line leader. And it's a lot about efficiency and order and structure. And if that's the case, if that's truly what you're doing it for, then have grace. Remember that everybody fits in a box and in a beanbag differently. Now with having the social physical distancing, it probably doesn't happen as much, although I don't know how much of it actually is working in schools where they're like, okay, you line up here, here, and here. And then actually as they walk, they keep that distance.
Yeah.
I've
seen I've seen them outside line up. Yeah.
Yeah.
There, I don't see a difference. They're on top of each other.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
I like those, Greg. You're right. It is a learning process, parenting and educating.
Yeah. We all have crummy days. For me, it's a matter of forgiving myself, but with conviction to those I love, even though I'm not certain others love me at the moment. And you know what? It's nice that others love us, but it's most important that we love ourselves. And that you and I would say, Fran, that we love God first and foremost. And then, now I do the acronym JOY. So Jesus, others, yourself. So I try to put Jesus first and then others and then myself. But I still have to love myself. And I still have to take care of myself because probably nobody else is going to take care of me.
Yeah, that's something I've never grasped, that it's okay to take care of me. That's something with which I struggle, that I would take the time to take care of me, or that I'm valuable enough to be taken care of. That's something that's I'm learning as a child of God, that I deserve that.
Right. The balance. Yep. Alex with the balance word. One of the many things that I taught Greg was one of the many things you taught me was it's okay for things can be okay when it's unstructured at times. Yeah. We may not always understand what's happening in the moment, but it's okay to, you got to think about the airplane when you're on the airplane and they tell you got to give yourself oxygen before you can help anybody else. We've talked about it on this show. You use the battery analogy a lot. The battery has to be charged. If there's nothing in the battery to give, then the battery can't give to anybody.
Or the body can't give. Yeah, you're right.
Right.
This morning I had to assess, because my battery was not even, it wouldn't charge. It was one of those that was like faulty battery at that point. So I had to assess how to charge it, and was there anything that to which I was connected today that the battery might not need to be used and could take a break from. And I did that. And at first I struggled. I felt very guilty that I said, oh, I can't do that today. Or I started something and then I had to leave. And, but then I came to the realization that it's okay. In order to do what I feel like God's calling me to do. It's really funny. The scripture of the day today was, many are the plans in a man's heart, but the Lord directs his steps. And that was the verse of the day. And I had a laugh, but then what came to me was, man, if we would just listen to him, how many unnecessary steps would we take? would we not be taking? How much
Right.
how much wasted time are we off doing our own random wonder things? But so today I feel like I did that, and I didn't waste my resources, waste my battery, waste the charge that was within me, and I was able to do that which I was supposed to.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking about, bean bags have to be filled with beans or they can't support us. Boxes have to be filled with whatever, make the box the sturdy part of it that it is. So even those things have to have something in them in order to do their job.
So I want to take us in that direction.
Okay.
How do we build up the beanbag, the box, in order to support the individual?
Well, my immediate thing was encouragement of, whatever it is, that you're on the right path. Putting lots of beans of encouraging words in the beanbag. But then I was thinking, we need to teach. We need to teach skills. We need to teach academics. We need to teach manners. We need to teach why it's important to think outside the box, which is add beans. What kind of beans? Get as many beans as we can. What are we doing with what kind of beans are these? What kind of beans are we adding? Thank you, Violet, for that.
You know how many beans there are in the world?
A lot.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, I think it's like 7 or 8 billion, which I know when I say billion, that probably doesn't tell you anything, does it?
It's a lot.
Yeah. So what kind of beans do we need in our bags? What kind of cardboard do we need in a cardboard box, or in, what kind of wood do we need in a wooden box?
And I immediately went to a cement box, like a concrete box. Yeah.
That's
because do you realize concrete is, you don't think about it, but all the things that go into it to make it concrete.
Yeah.
And did you know, I was speaking with someone that that's his job, is he drives and delivers concrete.
Oh.
The stuff that's in it will actually eat you up. It's got some acidic qualities to it. And so it will actually eat through you till it's hardened if it sits on you a long time. Yeah. So I'm thinking, but then it made me start thinking on that which is in it. What are the ingredients and what would be the part that's eating you, kind of thing. But sorry, that was my random trail. But so we just think of the finished product,
right?
Whether it's the cardboard, the concrete, the wood, the beanbag. But what are the individual things, the beans, that make it what it is?
Yeah. So we've got a couple comments about that. So things that Greg says would be beans are teaching sir, ma'am, please, thank you, having God in his life. Alex says unconditional support.
I really like that.
Violet says soft, double ply, hardwood. That was on Grey's. Grey's Anatomy. So yeah, I mean, there's like we said, there's lots of individual components, and sometimes building has to, when we're building something, we make a mistake and we have to start over, or we have to take a couple steps back and maybe reinforce the box. Or like I have beanbags. I've had beanbags in my classrooms for years. And at least once a year, I would have to get more beanbags to put them into the beanbag because they get squished and they get flattened. And I think they must dissolve because I never did. I'm like, where did they all go? And I keep looking over to the side because I have a beanbag chair sitting over there.
You should have sat in it today.
I thought of that like in the middle of today's episode, and I probably could move over to where it is.
There's styrofoam.
But I might not get back up later. So
got it. And that would be a bad thing?
Well, yeah, I have other things I need to do today.
Oh, okay. Have to or need to or desire to?
Yeah. Well, I've got something that I want to drop off for you. So that's a want. There's something that someone placed an order on my website. So I want to put that in the mail for them so that they get it sooner rather than later. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I don't have to go out of the house.
I'm just saying, and that's often something on which we should look when we're saying someone needs to do. Is it a have to, a need to, or is it just a want, or a personal preference of ours?
Right. And I mean, eventually I would have to get up because I would have to eat or I'd have to go to the bathroom. So there would be a have to in there, most definitely. Not necessarily right away, but yeah. I like what Greg says here. He says, so beans are so small and so many, but it is doable. It just takes tenaciousness. And yeah, it is doable. I mean, most definitely. Otherwise, we wouldn't have them at all. But we have to, I think, too, be careful what we're making our boxes and our bean bags out of. Because I bet you could make boxes and bean bags out of not very good material. And so not very good material in a person's life would be a lot of negative things. Is in my head what I'm correlating that to, at least.
Okay.
So, we would need to be careful and be alert. I was just in a meeting yesterday where we talked about the fact that you have between 12,000 and 60,000, and I know you don't know these numbers, Fran, and I apologize,
okay.
Negative thoughts every day. But positive thoughts is not even a third of that, unless we are conscious about our thinking and we make ourselves stop having that many negative thoughts compared to positive thoughts. Because we always tell ourselves negative things. You can't do this. You shouldn't have done that. You're not good enough. You made a mistake. You're a dummy. Nobody likes you. But that isn't reality.
I think it goes back to Greg said it earlier, it's a process.
Yeah.
Though.
And we have to be, as parents and as teachers and as friends, because I know Violet is not a parent or a teacher, but as a friend, we need to be filling other people's bean bags with positives, as well as filling our own bean bag with positives.
She's not just a certified.
Yeah, she's not a certified teacher. We have to build ourselves up as well as others around us. But especially I think as a adult involved in a child's life, no matter what that role is, we really have to focus on saying whatever it is that we're trying to say in a positive manner. So that we can have boxes that we fit into better and bean bags that do mold around us better.
I like that. I really like that. You know what I was thinking? I think this ties into it. I hope it doesn't like totally jump off of what you're saying. But you were saying about what we build it. And I'm going back to, Violet was saying they were styrofoam and Greg's saying they're so small. And you were saying, where do they go? And what if you just had a bean of styrofoam and you put it in the framework of the cloth of the bag and you said, oh, here's your bean bag? How would you expect that to be comfortable or work?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I said, that kind of goes back to the earlier when I was talking about, if you don't have something in those objects, they're not going to do what their intention is to do. So Greg says, my beanbag is not full for me, but I wish it to. Greg, yours should be full. You deserve for it to be full. You are an awesome human being. You have an amazing heart. Your daughter is amazing. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And you had a lot to do with that. People at work that you work with, I don't work with you, but I'm sure that they would say good things about you. So you need to give yourself grace. Mom says it's easy to give easy. It's easy. What? Wait. It's easy to give easy to see the positive things. Oh yeah. It's easier to see the positive things in others, but not ourselves.
And that is
so true.
Your mom is so on target there.
Yeah. And that's what we need to stop. I mean, not stop seeing the positives in other people, but we need to allow ourselves to acknowledge that we have positives too. And no offense to Greg being a guy here, but the women that I know overall are harder on themselves, at least in ways that they express it, than men are.
What do they say? We're our worst critics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're our worst critic.
Yeah, harshest.
And I think, in a lot of ways, women are, we tend to be more in a caregiving role. And I don't know why, but we tend to be harder on ourselves. But like I said, I could be wrong about that because maybe we just express it and guys don't express it as much. And I give huge kudos to Greg because Greg shared that. And I know that there are many men that wouldn't or can't share their feelings. And that is something I've always very much appreciated about Greg, is that he shares his feelings and he's not afraid to. And that is just awesome.
And I think, yes, thank you, Greg. I think it's important that not only just with that we make sure our loved ones, our students, our children, those around us know that it's okay to share your feelings, the good, the bad, and the ugly as well. All of them. Mm-hmm. To be able to say, yeah, I am having a horrible day, and to acknowledge that. And someone said something the other day about don't try to take what you're imagining their horrible is and put it onto them, but just accept what they're saying is horrible for them and go with it.
Yep. Validate their feelings. Most definitely.
Because I think Alex has said this to me many times, is for them, it is real. Whether it is real or not, for them, it is real. And so by invalidating it, by not accepting it just as they're saying it, you are minimizing that which they're saying.
Yeah, that's absolutely, I agree with that. We must acknowledge that a person feels the way they feel and not just say, oh, well, you shouldn't feel that way. Well, that doesn't help. That actually just makes things worse, because it makes the person feel like you don't think well of them because you've just told them they shouldn't feel a certain way. So let's see. We got Fran's analogy. Greg said that, the beanbag analogy, and he was agreeing that almost every man he knows holds their feelings in, but he's still trying to figure out how to be a person for everybody. It's hard to admit when we need help from others.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is. But we are healthier people when we do. And Alex says validation is so important. Final thoughts, Fran. We're already at our almost hour.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Well, it just as you were going through all those things, what came to mind as, your mom was saying it's hard to admit. So I took it into a personal direction as you were reading each of those. And since my stroke and other things, I've had to ask for help. And I didn't realize how prideful of a person I was, and how that has been an ongoing thing, and it continues to be. I keep thinking, oh, I've let go of that. Oh my goodness, no, I haven't. But it's a process, as Greg was saying, and as Alex is saying, being validated in the moment. So, okay, yeah, I needed to ask for help, but I realize where you are. It's, the person to whom I'm talking, telling me, okay, I get it, or I hear what you're saying, and I hear what it means to you. So, being in the moment, I think, and allowing for the beanbag, the box, to be set aside for the moment, and just seeing the individual, I think.
Yeah. Yep. I think I'm not going to add anything else. So Greg, the last thing he said here is acknowledging one needs help is a big step for you, Greg, but for everybody, honestly. I would say the majority of people that I know, at least, that is a difficult step for people to do. As my mom said, it's so easy to give a compliment or give praise or see positives in other people. It's also easier, I think, for us to help other people. So I think that all lines up together. It's a good thing we're almost finished. I'm not sure what's going on. That's true, Alex. You do not have to agree with the person's feelings in order to validate that they have the feelings that they have. Mm-hmm. There's pretty evenly, it seems. Well, no, I'm not going to say evenly, but there's a lot of people feeling one way in the country, and there's a lot of people feeling another way in the country, but both groups of people are feeling something. And just because it's not the way that I am feeling doesn't mean your way is wrong, or vice versa. My way isn't wrong because it's not the way you're feeling. So beanbags and boxes. Beanbags are better than boxes. Maybe. Or we just need both. I think we need both. What do you think?
Whether we need it or not, both exist, and we have to work with it.
That's true. That's very true. Well, thank you, everyone who joined us. Greg, Alex, my mom, Violet. I hope I didn't miss anybody. The comments today were awesome. Thank you so much for input. It really does help our conversation, and we want to talk about what you want to talk about. We have our topics that we come up with, but we want you to be involved. So anybody watching in the replay, please comment if there's anything else. Those of you who are watching, share it, like it, subscribe. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, you don't want to miss a Friday with Fran, and you certainly don't want to miss a hashtag No Limits on Tuesdays. We got to go. Our time is up. It's been great, everybody. Thank you so, so much.